Welcome, everybody, to the Three Gun Show. This is episode 274, and I'm your host, Dave Hartman. Today, we have another mid-match discussion from the United Shooting Sports League's multi-gun traditional nationals, Trad Natties, as we like to call that one. This one is a beaut, and I know you're going to like it. Have you ever wondered who would win in a fight, Superman or Batman? Have you ever argued the strengths of LeBron James or Michael Jordan? Do you stay up late at night wondering if a gorilla could take down a grizzly? If so, this is the show for you. We were having such a discussion about three gunners, and then we decided to hit record. We went all over the place in this one and had some of the biggest laughs that you've ever had on the show, so I know you're going to love this. We've got Jay Christiansen, James Gill, and Adam Maxwell on tap for this one here. A roundtable that you guys like so much, and this one's hilarious. Like, even in the edit, I was cracking up. So, hope you enjoy it. But before we get into the show, last week, I told you about Born to Three Gun. Born to Three Gun is back. That's right. Our most popular t-shirt design is back, and this time you can get it in black, which has never been available before. Also available are Born to Three Gun coffee mugs and hoodies. You can get yours at 3gunshowproshop.com. 3gunshowproshop.com. And this is pretty cool. One of the Three Gun Show patrons, Brandon Hurd, asked if we could do something special. He's looking for a baby onesie in the Born to Three Gun because he's an expecting father, which is awesome. So congrats to Brandon. And we did it. We've got the onesies available. They're in the Three Gun Show, so 3Gun Show Pro Shop. So now we have those available for you to get for your little three gunner. With Christmas coming up, be sure to pick up something for everyone in your entire family at 3gunshowproshop.com. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at JP Enterprises. As you probably know by now, there's a movement to shoot heavy optics division at the 2020 Texas Three Gun Championship because you can shoot your normal limited or TAC Ops gear and just substitute a 308 a 308 rifle for the rifle there. So 12 round semi-automatic shotgun, normal 9mm pistol, and a 308 rifle. I've been shopping the JP website for 308 components for the last couple weeks, and I'm jotting down a bunch of ideas for builds. But I think I'm leaning toward a 16-inch blaster. I think I'm just going to get an upper to throw it on to my 6.5 Creedmoor lower that I have. I think that's how I'm going to do it. But you're going to need to shop for one yourself if you're going to come shoot with us. Shoot the match, and we're going to get some squads for 308 guys only. If you need a 308 of your own, pick up one of their essential 308 rifles. You can get a 16-inch or 18-inch rifle of your own, minus a couple of the really cool Go Fast parts for under $3,000. And it still includes JP's Super Match Barrel, so you know that the only reason you can't hit those long-range targets will be you. Or you can pick up a tricked-out LRP-07. Either way, visit jprifles.com to pick up your 308 rifle and come shoot heavy division with us here at the Three Gun Show. Also, it's the off-season, so now's the time to make upgraded parts on your 223 rifle as well. JP Rifles has everything you need to make your three-gun rifle a sweet shooter, or just start from scratch and have them do it themselves. That's all I've got for now, so enjoy this podcast with James Gill, Jay Christiansen, and Adam Maxwell. James Gill.
Howdy.
Jay Christiansen. Hey, Dave. Hey, Max. Back. We're all here for the fun. And Alex Christiansen, sitting eating an apple, staring at us. He's been reprimanded for speaking because we can't hear what he says because he doesn't have a microphone. So he's here for moral support. We were just talking. We were having a really good after shooting three gun discussion that happens all the time. That we always try to capture the magic on the podcast.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works.
Doesn't.
We throw on the mics. Everybody goes quiet. But what we were talking about was athleticism.
Yeah, I think we were kind of talking about how, like, in the good and olden oldie times,
Mm-hmm.
like there were some legendary names, and when conversations get started on certain topics, some people chime in from the back of the room like, "Oh, you guys aren't good. The guy who's really good is that guy back the guy who we haven't seen in a match in 5 years."
Well, here's an example. Like, just because I've never met him, I know his brother Eric, Kurt Miller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Legendary shooter.
Yep.
And so my thing is, well, so in the context of what you're talking about, there's been people like, well, unless Kurt Miller's at the match, you didn't win limited. Like, well, fuck off, dude, because Kurt Miller's not coming back. You know, it's 2020 almost.
Yeah.
And he's not shooting anymore. So doesn't make him a bad shooter.
So
doesn't make him a bad guy.
Michael Jordan and LeBron. That's
Exactly. So
different eras.
what James was sitting here saying was, what was the person you named? Wilt Chamberlain?
Wilt Chamberlain.
He was talking about Wilt Chamberlain dunking on 5'5" dudes. So the discussion that we started having was like, was Wilt Chamberlain a world-class basketball player, or was his competition not nearly as good as the time? So then I said, like, was Kurt Miller, just as an example, everybody loves Kurt Miller, Jesus Christ, let's move on past that. Was Kurt Miller the greatest shooter of all time in limited, or was it he didn't have any competition at the time? And now is limited stacked, and then we started getting off on open and all these younger people coming in.
We could break it down further.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so the sport has changed where you're having less and less matches that are super restrictive about their sport. So limited used to be true irons, and there wasn't many dots that were competitive for a long time. And then dots started coming in the market. Guys could start using them. And everybody went to a dot versus shooting iron sights. And you have a few guys that shot true irons and were shooting not just 200-300 yards at E-type silhouettes, but shooting pinpoint accurate targets out to 650 with iron sights. And you look at the guy and you're like, he's wearing readers. Like, how is he shooting iron sights?
And that's still done in different disciplines.
It is. So the talent, yes, absolutely is there. I don't know what anybody's stat sheet is because I really don't care. But you look at people's titles, like, we know that is a skilled shooter. And there's guys in the division now that are still skilled shooters. The problem is we're having more skilled shooters coming up and a ton of youth/athletic juniors coming into the sport that they don't necessarily have to shoot as good. So when you watch them shoot, they're not as impressive right off the bat with just their shooting ability because they're just running real fast.
Right.
It's hard to weigh those two.
Yeah. So and that's been something that we've talked about on the Three Gun Show quite a bit. I've talked about it with in training sessions with my friend Darren. Is like there is a subset of people that will just keep pulling the trigger until they connect, but they can pull it so fast and they can move between targets so fast that it doesn't seem to affect them very much.
Volume of fire.
Yes.
Sometimes it works. I don't think that's a skill. We're not machine gunners here.
Right.
You know, if you want to learn how to shoot a machine gun, join up in service and they'll take you.
So I much more respect a person who gets down on a proper barricade with 5 long-range targets and goes 1 for 1 than someone who just keeps bracketing the target until they accidentally hit it and moves on.
Yeah, and there's a point of diminishing return. If they sit there and they're spending 35 seconds per shot, come on. Send one.
I mean, yeah.
You know.
There's extremes at every end.
Yeah. But it does – we've seen it all where you have a new guy come into the squad. You've never shot with them before. Typically, they're a little bit slower than everybody else. But then when they go to the all-rifle stage, you watch them struggle with loading their shotgun and running a stage plan. But then they go out to the rifle position, and they fire the required number of rounds, and everybody gets excited for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what their time
Shaky
is.
Dave.
Yeah.
Like, you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my partner at the DC Project team match, and he absolutely smoked the long-range stage.
Yep.
Absolutely smoked it. And, you know, I guess from where I'm sitting, like the rifle usually requires me to be kind of still, and even though he was, you know, shaking going into it, in the act of shooting, like it calms him down enough to where he's able to make those trained shots. And That was a seriously impressive display that he put on.
Yeah.
Yeah, even putting him against somebody who's not shaking their brains out every time they're moving, like the fact that he was disciplined and went 1 for 1 on his long-range engagements, that in itself is a huge accomplishment that we're all excited for every time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But does that still happen a lot, that you can execute like that and do really well at a match? Like, I feel like there was a time in 3-gun where you could do okay at the match and crush the rifle stage, because there was a rifle stage, and then you win. But I don't. Do you think you can still do that?
Some matches, yes. The sport
UML, I don't think you can, because of the way the points are laid out.
Yeah, the points way out where it's too unevenly spread. But the problem nowadays is people aren't focused on that one stage as much anymore because the penalties aren't there.
Yeah.
You have some matches where they start implementing sportsmanship penalties for guys that just want to whiff rounds at a target, so they engage it because it's too difficult to shoot in a windy condition. But ultimately, the idea where I've stuck to my guns over the years and saying, I don't care if I win or lose a stage. I want to be as close to perfection for myself on a stage as possible. And if I get outrun or outshot, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
How would you define perfection for you on a stage?
Well, I don't want to get into a position. I don't want to get into an incorrect position, first of all.
Okay.
So I want to use the appropriate position. And then once I'm there, if I break a shot at the target, I've given adequate time where it is as close to a good shot as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I didn't just wing one at it, hoping it was going to hit. And then as I call that impact, I'm moving on, going there. So there's a few parameters as far as what I'm looking at with my ability on a stage. And realistically, the crash factor on those types of runs, when a guy is very deliberate about their shooting, is very low. So those are the guys that run 90 percentile all the way across the match. Now, the guys that go 0 or 0, like, I'm going to run by this one position and just wing a shot at, whip a slug round over there, hope I hit. If they get it, it looks awesome. If they don't, there's the penalty, and either they load for it or something. So the crash and burn factor is higher. Well, we all want to see the high-risk stages. We all like watching guys that slide on their knee pads on their fence like Rick Birdsall and stuff. Like, it looks cool.
It was a good video.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Do it for the
But
gram.
it has a really high crash factor there. And, I'm not going to risk a DQ. I'm not going to risk running my gun dry, and then I look panicked on the clock. And for the most part, if I'm at 90 percentile, like, I'm very traditionally second place, and I don't have a whole lot of crash and burns. Like, nobody's watching my videos, so like,
consistent.
Oh, somebody's watching.
Consistent second place.
Somebody's watching. They're like,
Would you say you are more or less mad about missing a foot position than a shot?
Oh, was that a you don't have 2 legs joke? That's not nice.
No.
I
but
got a foot fault at USPSA
Wow.
match last 2
No,
months ago.
Every position for James is
James
a
said
foot
that,
position.
perfection for him is getting into the right position and making a shot that you take. So by your definition, a hit on a shooting position, arriving at a shooting position, is as important as a shot itself.
Correct. So I'm not worried necessarily about the choreography of I'm going to take 2 steps, turn, and I'm here. You're going to have gross movements as you turning. I know I'm turning around the corner and the target's somewhere there. I don't have to be pointed right at it. I just have to know that I'm turning and I'm not searching blindly for it. And then when I get there, I fine-tune. Now, if my foot placement's a little off, it's not a huge deal. But if I tell myself that I'm just going to cruise by these 6 steel targets, little KO plates, and I'm going to shoot them on the run, that's my stage plan. I have obviously failed myself in the stage plan, and then execution when I dump 26 rounds at those, trying to cruise by them, instead of just planning. So, give you an example. Today, the last stage that we shot of the day, we had a long-range rifle off some tank traps. I failed myself in looking at that position and saying, okay, I'm going to shoot 2 targets off the trap, go prone for the other 3 that I could see. Didn't really look at the position a whole lot beforehand. I ended up being the first shooter on it. No, not a huge deal. But instead of finding a position where I wanted to go, I was like, I'll just go over the top. Kind of winged it, really. And I I'm really upset because the position I chose, I was trying to do it on the clock. Wasn't good, and I ended up paying for it pretty severely on the stage. So in my book, that's like a huge fail. Even if I had a slow stage time there, but I got into the position I wanted to be, and okay, I'm prone, I'm shooting off tank trap, and I'm shooting, no big deal. But it just that was more upsetting than getting down and going 1 for 1. I just didn't invest the time to use the right stage plan. I should have taken the bipods off, known that I was going to the center of the tank trap, kneeling, taking the time to set up on that kneeling position and go on from there. So that was the fail.
Yes, you did fail.
I did. It was bad.
Really need to clean that up.
On that particular one, so one of the things that I found is that like I will get sucked into something and then committed to it, even if it's working or not. And that tank trap is an example because the last 2 shots were like 325, 315-ish. And I'm sitting there hugging that tank trap, wavering, and I'm wobbling. It's too high for me to get a reverse kneel. And I'm still wobbling, and I'm still trying to make shots at it. And I'm like chasing the reticle around that target. And
maybe this one. Maybe this one. Maybe
yes.
This one.
Yes.
And it was saying maybe every time.
And what it was is the first 2 targets I could not see from prone. And so what I should have done was just freaking go prone, Dave, because these are the last 2 shots, and you can see those ones from prone. So like I was just committed to that position and not letting it go.
You ever watch a guy running with a pistol, and they're mid-stride trying to shoot at a target, and they get stopped trying to engage it? And instead of turning and squaring their body to the target or standing up, they stand in this goofy ballet stance,
Yeah.
and you're like, there's no way you're comfortable. Like, how did that feel right?
Yes, I've done that one. So on the converse though, there's people that instead of like trying to take aimed shots on those targets, they're just flinging rounds downrange, and they're like trying to bracket the target and like, well the dirt is flowing left to right, so I'm just going to start on the left edge and keep holding out until I hit the target.
Yeah, there's
and that's like a strategy. 5 rounds per target. Just pull the trigger as fast as you can.
There's no knowledge base in that other than I saw where my round was. I'm just going to keep going in that same direction or whatever. Like it wasn't like they looked at the wind ahead of time and said, "Oh, we got a 12-mile-an-hour wind. I need to hold 0.7, or left edge of the target at this 320." Nobody even. It's rare that you see some of these guys nowadays open their phone and pull out their ballistic app, which I don't, because I know my reticle, but not to sound like a douche.
Too late.
But I mean, realistically, I didn't pull out the wind. It wasn't like it's 12.5 miles an hour. I was just.
Well, I mean, nowadays everybody's running BDC reticles, so most of the time we have no use for a ballistic app with what we're doing, right?
Yeah, but if you'd ask some of these guys on the stage, hey, where did you hold for that shot? And they said, I kind of left. Well, how far left? Well, I don't know. How big is the target? Well, I don't know. Like, it's a very precision instrument you're using here, and you just kind of took a
held it right over there somewhere.
shot over towards that bush.
Left edge.
always
When
on
you
the
shoot
edge.
good ammo, you just hold center. Send it.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, that or tactical 75 grain. Both to hollow points.
You shooting 75 grains?
I was just gonna
Center
say. I was
every
just gonna say
time.
heavy
Hey,
bullets.
diddle right in the middle.
What kind of velocity are you shooting?
27-20.
Is that with or without the bacon grease?
I think I was getting 27.52.
Your gun and my gun are different.
It's true.
Same, but
And
different.
they're the same gun, which is mind blower.
So who got the better barrel? All barrels aren't created equal.
Pretty close.
This is much older than mine, so I don't know if they were still from the same maker in the process.
Barrels, not like wine, do not improve.
Do not
Do not improve with age.
do not age well.
Oh, you're not grouping well? Put another 10,000 rounds through it. It'll tighten up.
You heard it here first, folks.
Oh, you just got to heat your barrel up. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it going real hot.
What's the rifling?
Hey,
fills
speaking
up
of
with
which,
copper.
did you notice there was just random ass paper targets thrown in between the long range?
60-yard dashes.
Yeah, this match is like, that's not adding anything to the match for me. Just the random paper in between shooting long range.
I see the dilemma with some of the ranges that we're using where they just don't have anything, like you're just in an open field.
Right.
The intent, I believe, on their part is trying to make you shift back and forth
Oh, I get it.
near to far.
But it's like, aha, I get it. Cool, neat.
Would you rather have something to do in between positions or run 60
wanna
yards
carry-
for no reason?
Carry an ammo
I
can?
just think like it doesn't add anything.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Yeah,
You know,
it's shooting.
Oh, neat. I threw 8 rounds of 75 grain that are very valuable to me as an economical shooter. I threw those through paper. Sweet. Thank you. Thanks, Pete. That was awesome. I appreciate that.
I believe in most of these stages they were set where you could stack a couple of rounds on top of your mag. We talked about that.
Some of the stages, for sure. Yeah.
Put 6
And-
rounds on
and
top
all-
of your mag for the 3 paper
And
targets.
it all depends. Like the last stage we shot, the way that I was gonna shoot it, like I would have had to throw 75 rounds at it. I was gonna shoot from that first tank trap, then I was gonna get the paper, then I was gonna shoot from the second tank trap. And then I saw you shoot it, and you shot the paper from farther back. I'm like, that's much better. That'll save me $3. Cool. Peel. 8 rounds off top. Throw on some, American Eagle 55 grain, and then go about my day. That's what I did.
Are we still talking about athleticism?
We can.
Okay.
We just
Oh,
kinda
that-
need
that
a-
was a
we
good
need
one.
We need a starting
Those
point.
60-yard
You can't
dashes.
just throw out the non sequitur like that. You gotta
I was
So-
trying to
so
get
here-
you back on the rails.
gotta drive it
But
there.
when you have an when you have an IDPA style match, go here, go to this spot, go to this spot, where you can't do anything in between. Either you have to shoot from specific shooting areas within 1 yard of this log or in this shooting box,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing nothing in between. That instantly gives advantage to, I don't know, the guys with 2 legs. So that I'm not gonna complain about that.
Cry me a
Realistically.
river.
But as you go to some of these more
Wow,
physically
brutal.
demanding matches, guys are like, how can we add to the flavor of this match? And instead of putting more unique targets or a stage that requires
Shooting
any sort of
challenges.
thought, it's just, we'll just make them run 60 yards.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you end up seeing the gap, like you were talking about shooters versus athletes. So the guys that are shooters, you notice, will do a lot better in bay matches where there's shorter, tighter stages, typically. And the guys that are athletes or athletic, where there's a ton of running and physical requirements, usually do better at those matches.
I don't want to disregard the required athleticism in a match. If you get out of breath walking to your car, come enjoy 3-gun, but don't complain when you're not winning. I mean, you realistically have to be in shape to make it through.
Well, obviously, I'm not talking about one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah.
If you have a guy that's a skilled shooter at the same level of somebody that's like their athletic ability is the same level as the shooting skill, but like flip-flop. So, if shooter and athlete are here,
Well, let's go
then
back.
there's shooter
let's
and
go back a
athlete
few
on
years,
the other end.
Jay.
Yeah, let's do that.
If you go back to the days where everybody had an 8-round shotgun tube,
Yep.
because that's all that you had, and everybody was loading off of either their back pocket or a bandolier on their shotgun 1 round at a time.
Yep.
And then you had guys that started doing this weekend speed load, which, man, that was mind blowing when that technique came.
Do you think Rocky Mountain 3-gun banned that the first year?
The speed load?
That new age stuff is not allowed here.
They didn't know it was around because it wasn't on video.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's more on the down low.
but seeing that type of skill, like
BYT.
a match
for
director
YouTube.
looked at stuff and said, okay, loading in itself is going to be slow, so we're not going to put a 20-round shotgun array right in front of you because
Right.
everybody's going to spend time loading. So we'll put targets where they have to hunt and peck. They're going to find time to load as they go. And you know, as you go, the skill required for each shot was difficult. You had to choke up. They had no shoots next to some of the steel in a brush that you had to search for. So not only are you looking for targets, you had to run in position. You didn't, since it was slow to load the shotgun, you wanted to make sure that every shot that came out was very valuable. So I used to teach people that.
And that's how I learned.
Yeah, each shell that you unload at the end of the stage costs you a second.
Yep.
Because you spend a second on the clock loading that shell.
Yeah, and so when I learned like actual match techniques, not just like blasting and praying kind of stuff, was from James Casanova. It was the dawn of the twins loading, right? Yep. No one was quad loading. No one had ever heard of it.
So 2011, 12?
Yeah. Early 2012, mid 2012. And so I personally was still doing the weak hand shuffle in between. And James stressed, like, you need to respect every round coming out of your shotgun. Yep. You can't waste anything coming out of your shotgun. And that's, like, I mean, so that, like, took so much mind space for me. Like, that is how I still operate now. Like, if you notice, like, I don't just go wild on the shotgun and then just stuff random quads here and there. Yep. Like, I respect every round coming out of that gun. And you had to. Because, again, we had an 8-round tube.
And you still should. Now, I moved to a box-fed shotgun. It's changed a little bit, but if I have a 19-round mag in the gun, I want to shoot at least 16 targets, you know, ideally. You have a little fudge factor for some spare rounds there, but the idea is I want to be as precise as possible, only load when is necessary and when is planned. And as the skill set of these matches has changed where they're making things easier, now the talent that's already there, you know, the young kids or the people that know how to quad load, or you know, they spent four months in their basement practicing how to do a quad load or whatever, you know, they go through a match and they're not struggling with it. Well, the match is still difficult for the new shooters coming in.
Yes.
But if they just come in and every stage they look at looks like an old match style format of pick up your shotgun off this barricade, hose 8 rounds out of the shotgun as fast as you can, and dump it, and then run to the next spot. Like, I mean, we know that's hard because we all competed there, but that shouldn't be the only flavor of the sport.
So for me, the last match I shot was Generation 3 gun.
Yeah.
Gen 3, I would call like a marksmanship match because the pistol targets are not easy. They're not close. Now there's shotgun targets. Now they're the rifle targets. Now, contrasted with this match, it seems like everything is like super close. Just contrasting those two.
You know, Sam Larkin said that same thing today. He's like,
super close and real close together.
It's like the rifle stuff seems kind of remedial. It's like,
I'm okay with the rifle stuff being close together, or being closer, and just having like harder positions. But what I'm talking about specifically is like shotgun. Like if I can touch the target with the end of my magazine tube, that's not very far away.
Yeah, if my ejection pattern.
All targets at this match are the regulation safe distance away.
Minimum safe distance.
Yes.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Minimum.
I mean,
safe distance.
I do like the target.
You don't know how long my shotgun is, boy?
Actually.
52 inches, I talk about all the time.
Yeah, you know, you got to have some time, but and thinking about this match, how would you make the shotgun stuff harder? Just put it 5 yards further away? Because then you just change chokes and shoot the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had change chokes.
Do you?
If I had a hoser, I could have shot my hoser this whole thing.
I had 2 people ask me today
Hoser.
what choke I was using, and I said the same one I've had in the gun. I don't know what's in there at the moment, and I don't feel like changing chokes.
Yeah.
And I think Sam stole
right
mine.
now.
I know I have an IC for sure. but the point I'm trying to make is that like there were no hard shotgun shots. And the longest pistol shot were those 2 shots we shot on the ridge.
The MGM gongs at 40.
40?
I don't even know if they were that far.
They were the ones that
I have no depth perception. So
Jay went 1 for 1 on.
On my first
and
run.
then unfortunately had to do a reshoot.
Oh,
and then had like
I think they were
17 makeup
oh,
shots.
he's burning it down. The timer's not working. Start over.
You were freaking burning it down.
No, I was
too.
totally not.
How'd that
You
timer
were,
not pick
dude.
up
You
your
absolutely
open gun
were.
shooting major ammo through it?
Yeah, and he's like, here, fire a shot. Bang. Oh, it's working.
You know, you got to pick up the last round.
You got effed in the A on that one.
And
It's all good.
I told you when it happened.
I was warned before the match I was going to get F'd in the A.
But you
This
heard me
weekend.
say it,
Open?
Dave.
Yeah.
I said, as soon as he got his reshoot, and I made him reshoot, I said, I know you just hit those targets. Please aim hard at these targets.
And see?
He's like, I'm going to. I was like,
Wop,
I'm
wop,
telling
wop,
you, your
wop,
mentality
wop,
after
wop,
Mental,
wop, wop,
mental
wop,
warfare
ding.
over here.
Well, was I wrong?
No.
You,
you know what?
paused again the second time.
But
calling
here's
hard
but
shots
here's
and
here's
still
here's the
whiffed.
mind melter. Would it have happened if you didn't say anything?
Yes.
Well,
Or would it?
Butterfly
I'm a
flaps and
three-gun
swings in
savant, bro.
Guatemala.
we want to talk about mind melters. Like, you've heard it a million times. What do you have to do? Don't miss,
Yep. Shoot fast, don't miss.
right? But I recently heard that again, but it sunk in different. Because I mean, you know, if you're at a match where Jerry and Josh and James are there, like the you know, how do you catch them? Well, you got to shoot fast. Those guys are fast. But if you're shooting fast and missing,
Mm-hmm.
you ain't gonna catch them.
Yeah.
So like the marksmanship aspect is still there. If you go back to Pro Series days, like, I mean, I threw away my Pro Series run throwing fast shots and missing at a plate rack. And when I was out kicking myself the next night watching the finalists go, and you watch Horner or Jordan shoot a rifle plate rack offhand, it's not bang, 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 bang. They're
Bang.
bang, bang, bang.
They're shooting the target as it needs to be shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
one of the things I really enjoy about shooting with James is, James, don't listen. I don't want to embarrass you.
Mute him.
Yeah, I'll mute you. So one of the things I really enjoy about shooting with James is if you're talking about stage strategy, James will tell you the cadence that you need to shoot. He'll go bang, bang, bang. He's like, respect these shots, like bang, bang, bang. He doesn't just say like respect the shots, you know, or like these are fast shots, bang, bang, bang.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do that, right? Like you do that
Absolutely.
you do that all the time. You've done that in several situations, and that one it helps me if like I have no clue what I'm doing as far as like, okay, so how am I supposed to shoot this? It gives me a cadence to do it. Second thing is like if in my mind I'm thinking like, okay, this is how fast I'm going to shoot it, and then you're like bang, bang, bang. I'm like, okay, yes, that was correct. No, that was incorrect. But cadence is huge.
Yeah.
Like, so as we were talking about before we started recording here, there is a new, in the last like 3 years, 4 years, subset of shooters that will point their gun at the target, not aim, point their gun at the target, and just keep pulling that trigger until they connect.
right.
Till somebody yells hit.
Rifle, pistol, shotgun, doesn't matter.
But you're talking about cadence. If we go back to Texas 3-gun championship this year, there was the jungle runny type stage up on the hill. You started with your shotgun, and there's 2 flippers right at the beginning, 2 or 3.
Yes.
Remember what I'm talking about? That was one of the first times where it's one of those traps, or it's one of those temptations to get multiple clays up in the air, and everybody wants to do that. And that was the first time that somebody, it happened to be Josh, told me, he's like, Josh Freilich, whatever split you shoot those poppers in, that's the split you got to shoot on the clays in the air.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the first time where, you know, a educated marksmanship decision was to not shoot as fast as you could,
Yes.
buying yourself some time on the harder shot.
One person I think does that really well is Dylan. And
Yes.
in that same match, there was a different array. Maybe it was even the same array, but there was like 5 targets and 3 clays going up in the air, and he did a bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
And then they were up in the air, and it was boom, boom, boom. You know,
Yeah.
like that.
He gave himself the delay in air.
Yes. But he knew what he had to give himself.
Yeah.
And so he knew the delay that he had to put on those targets to
Yeah.
get that delay in the air. And that's it's cool that it's cool that you now like have that frame of reference. I mean, that's been something that, again, the aforementioned Casanova taught us, was like, you can shoot these bam, 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 but you're going to have to shoot the clays in the air, bam, bam, bam.
Right.
So can you shoot the clays in the air, bam, bam, bam? If you can't, then you go bam, bam, bam.
Yep.
And that, again, is a cadence, and it takes discipline to do that, especially in the middle of a stage when you're like, okay, now I need to slow down to get those.
So Adam just mentioned it. You talk about, you go to a match with guys that either you're looking up, you're looking down, guys that you're competing against in the race. And if you're behind somebody in the point standing, you say, how am I going to catch this guy?
Mm-hmm.
That's where your discipline needs to come in the most, because today was a really good example of that. And I've coached Jay through this a lot when we're shooting, is shoot your game. It doesn't matter if you get outrun on the stage, outshot on the stage. You shoot your game. Either another competitor's going to have the pressure factor or whatever. Let them deal with that. You shoot your game, what you can manage to do every time. Somebody else is going to crumble. That's the only way, realistically, to catch guys like Daniel Horner or Greg Jordan. Yes, you have to shoot at a high level to stay competitive with those people, because they're very highly competitive shooters. The only way you're going to get the competitive advantage on them is by letting them make a mistake.
It's like Jerry says, like, you never know how deep the hole the other guy's digging for himself.
Yeah. But if you go with, well, I got to shoot faster to catch up, well, every one of those shots, like, you're just stacking time. You're not gonna outrun yourself. You can't just magically show up to a match and, shoot a sub 2 second plate rack when you've never done it in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, well, I'm gonna just,
Yeah, you're not gonna rise to the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, talking about guys shooting faster accuracy by volume shooters and stuff. I mean, everybody at the top level, hell, everybody in the top, 20-30% can all pull the trigger fast. But, like you said, the key to it is hitting the damn target every time.
Yeah. Well, and having the discipline to know what speed you need to be pulling the trigger at that time, right?
Yep.
So it's not always like you're just spraying a machine gun down range.
Right. As much as you want to.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
Yep.
Looks good on Instagram.
Video.
So, James, you and I have shot with a number of junior shooters this year together, and we've seen the desire to shoot really fast, the desire to get everything done really fast, the desire to move between positions really fast, but it executed with varying results. To be nice,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and blame the community. I will accept responsibility for it. So there's a few junior shooters that
all James' fault.
Yeah,
y'all heard
I
it.
knew it. So within the community of Texas, we have a couple of local junior shooters that have come up over the years that we've shot with, and I think the Texas crowd, the traditional Texas 3-gun crowd, we're shooting with them on a regular basis. We do a pretty good job because we see these kids on our regulars. I don't see all the juniors that are out there. Like this year at the DC Project match, there was juniors I didn't know existed.
Yeah. Well, your partner I didn't know existed.
Mia?
And she was
Mia.
Yeah, Mia was a great shooter too, especially in pistol. Holy cow!
Yeah, she's come a long way. And so you see these shooters that are from different areas, and the environment, whoever they're shooting with, they start to emulate whoever's the top dog in the area. So you got Josh Froelich up there shooting, and John Waddell. So John's watching Josh's videos and kicking his ass to the
well, and if
I don't know, but somebody,
if you watch John in video or in person, he has a very Froelichian style, right?
Yep.
Like he does.
And I don't think that could be denied.
Well, and that's not saying, good, bad, or indifferent, right?
Nope.
It's like whoever taught you to catch in baseball, you're going to have their style, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
watched Rob Romero back in the day.
Dude,
that's where I started.
Yeah, exactly. Like my brother and his sons are ridiculous. Like they walk the same way. Like they, my brother has injuries from football that make him walk the way he does, and his kids walk the same way, and their kids. Like that's, it's just you emulate the people that you're around. It's what we do. We as humans and monkeys do. It's
subconsciously, even.
Yeah, absolutely, subconsciously for sure. Yeah.
So, obviously, your juniors are going to look up to their role models in the area. Their
Josh
celebrities,
is the best shooter in open in that area. So of course Whitell's going to,
and that's perfect. Now the
look to
next step
emulate
of
him.
that is if you have a junior shooter that's in your area and they come up to you and they, how do I get sponsored? What's the same thing you tell anybody when they ask if they want to get sponsored? Do you know what it means to be sponsored?
Why do you want to be
Why
sponsored?
do you want to be sponsored? What do you need that you don't have? What sponsorship do you need? And like those kind of questions. They're just like, oh, I just thought you could get rich shooting. No, that's not what they're saying. But some people do.
They thought it, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so I could just tell these junior shooters like, wait till you've been in the sport 20 years, or I could tell them, hey, we want a good role model. We want somebody that can be a good brand ambassador and represent the product and is knowledgeable about the product. I don't care how you perform in a match. What I care about is these qualities. I want a good, solid citizen to represent my product. That's the kind of stuff. So if you're bringing those juniors in and showing those types of things, that's the kind of product that they're going to turn into. But if you allow your junior shooters or your new guys to the 3-gun, if they come in, if they shot with us on a squad today and they said, oh, in 3-gun, this is how we act, and whatever extracurricular activities the squad is doing, if they think, oh, I got to do this to do 3-gun,
we might need to clean it up a little bit.
Now they go shoot a match in New Mexico with strangers they don't know and they act the way we did, people might look at them a little strange,
Yeah.
So like,
Well, it's like we have those 2 guys in our squad that we don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I kept trying to say like, hey, just FYI, we're not being mean to each other. We all are friends.
Yeah. Well, if you go to a match and you don't see everybody on your squad resetting, what does that tell you?
You don't need a reset.
I don't need a reset.
Yep.
Nobody said anything to that guy.
Yep.
But if you're like, no, we all reset. You ever see Jerry Micklick not reset? Hell no. Jerry resets, and he's running the reset. So when you're on a squad with Jerry, you're going to reset unless you're Benny Hill. But,
As
so
firmly planted in golf cart entire match.
And so you want to make sure that not only resetting and how they represent their sponsors, but their marksmanship is the next thing that I want them to do. Like, I know this looks awesome, but let me show you how you get there, and this is the desired result. You will shoot this fast, but you'll connect. Let me take you through the steps to get there. Not just, you didn't start out by just pulling the trigger fast. And
Well, one of the I'm sorry to interrupt, James, but one of the things I found is like in training, in drills and practice, if like, okay, I'm going to shoot this paper target over here, and then I'm going to shoot that longish range target, that mid-range target offhand, I will load 3 rounds. 2 on that paper, 1 over there. Because I find that you just like follow up again and again and again and again. And like the misses should hurt. You should have to load your mag again, and that's one of the things that I've worked on with Darren Cepeda and with Riley Croft. And
do you remember that drill I used on you where I use it as my experimental drill to see how what a shooter skill level is with a pistol?
Yeah.
When you miss, that drill stops, right?
Right.
What is this drill for those of us who didn't?
You probably heard of it. It's called King of the Hill. So you can shoot it with rifle or pistol.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably shoot it with shotgun. I don't want to do it with shotgun because I'm lazy. But let's say you're shooting with a pistol.
Yep.
Put an 8-inch or a 10-inch gong at least 25 yards, where it's far enough away where you can't point shoot it. You have to be hard on your sights.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a paper at 6 feet, and it's going to be slightly off center of that other target. So the idea is you can start on the deep steel or the close paper. Doesn't matter which one you start on, but no matter which one you start on, your draw speed should be the same. What happens, I use this as a test, if somebody draws to the close paper, they pull the gun out real fast and they start pulling the trigger real fast. But when they go to shoot the deep target, they have sympathetic movement, and they know that they're going to pause for their sights, so you'll watch them and they'll pull the gun out of the holster slower. They don't have the same draw speed. A newer shooter or an unskilled shooter. But either way, when you do the drill, single shot on the deep steel, and then as soon as you as soon as you break the shot and call it, you're immediately whipping over and transitioning to the close target, which is basically a point shoot, and then transitioning back, hard stop on the steel plate for another engagement.
Mm-hmm.
You go through that until you're either out of ammo or you miss the steel. And the way I score the drill is I go to the paper, and I like to use paper so I can see a couple things. I'm scoring 2 hits. So if I engage that paper 10 different times, I should have 20 hits on paper, 2 rounds each.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can look at the paper to see where all the impacts are, and it shows me if I'm breaking my shot coming into the target or if I've waited till my dot's center of the target and now I'm breaking left with that momentum. There's a couple things I can look at. Most people will miss one shot on that steel. Some people will miss the first shot, and they'll run the drill 10 times in a row. And they'll just try and whip the shot out as quick as possible, and they don't pause for that hard shot, a hard target. So that the idea with that drill is it forces you to pause. You're prepped on the trigger already, but until the gun is absolutely ready to go for that shot, so instead of going to a 3-gun stage where you're going to shoot a slug or let's say just an offhand rifle shot, you go to it, you call it a hit. It's not a hit. You've already started transitioning your body. Now you have to come back into position, and you do that little dance 2 or 3 times. You stack time. But if you just hard pause one time, boom, call it a good hit and run off, it's way faster. So that drill, you can do it with rifle or pistol. That drill is a huge skill builder. Well, I'm very deliberate when I do that drill. If I miss a shot on steel, I'm stopping, and the score is I got 0, and it's not something that I practice 10 times in a row because I got no value out of it. Like my score for today is 0. That's pathetic. And in a match, we've heard other people talk about this where I want to put my targets further away in practice so it's more difficult. So then when I go to a real match and I see the presentation of targets like they are this weekend, oh, those are cakewalk. Well, you should be shooting at the same speed that you practiced because you haven't practiced shooting faster because you've only been shooting far targets that are slow. So that in my mind doesn't make sense. Like you can't just suddenly speed up. You can't make yourself go faster.
Right. Well, I ran into something like that too, where I probably plateaued for a while on my pistol shooting skills, and someone outside of 3-gun challenged me to a drill where it was 25 yards, 10 shots, 5 seconds. I was on Instagram doing it the other day, and I watched him do it, and he's an older guy, and whatnot, and he just rattled it right off, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. So for some reason, I usually don't go online, go do drills that I see online, but I, for whatever reason, wanted to try this one, and I had a hard time with it.
Yep.
And I couldn't figure out why, and so I was like, I did it offhand, just rattled it off one time, came back another day, tried it again, and I was like, all right, now I'm upset. Now I should be able to do this. So I went to the range, dumped out all the boxes of ammo, we're gonna stay here and do this until we get it. And it was hard, and I couldn't get it. And what I had to realize was that it had identified a weakness in my technique, my natural point of aim, my grip off the draw at 25 yards. It was not good enough to rattle 10 shots at that speed that we're trying to shoot at that distance.
Yep.
So, and it's really a marksmanship thing. There was a lot of little fundamentals that need to come together there. And I couldn't figure out why it was, and I think it was because in this sport, if you're going to take a 25-yard pistol shot, it's worth 5 seconds to you to get it right.
That's right.
So we'd never pushed, I hadn't, or a lot of us, I don't think, have pushed ourselves to that level of precision with that shot to develop the fundamentals to that level. And I think that's similar to what you were talking about in the King of the Hill drill. Like you have a lot of things that have to come together perfectly to get it. And that's not always tested in a match, and people don't necessarily go and look for that.
Well, Jay, you just shot Texas law enforcement match there in Austin?
Yeah, last weekend.
So you said they scored points down for Charlies and Deltas.
IDPA style. So half-second penalty for Charlie, 2.5 for Delta, I think.
And they scored 2 hits required, or is it 1 anywhere?
It's 2 required.
2 required. So kind of like Andy Horner, where you're getting scored. You better be shooting center on that target. And there's a lot of people that haven't shot that style of format, so we get a bad name within the USPSA only crowd where they're like, 3-gun, there's no accuracy involved. There is. 90% of the field doesn't know what accuracy is because they know 3-gun accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's no accuracy required on wide open brown paper targets. There is accuracy required on like a lot of the long range steel that we shoot.
Yes.
Well, they're referring to
pistol.
having to hit A zone versus having to hit the piece of paper.
I
So
totally understand.
They can only shoot
but
one gun. They're trying to
they
feel better.
don't shoot
Yeah.
6-inch square knockdowns like we do.
Correct.
Yes.
At 30 yards.
How big's an A zone?
So
I
them
think it's
saying
6 by
that
8, isn't it?
like there's no accuracy involved in 3-gun is like, well, there's no accuracy for what you do.
Yep.
There is
Yeah.
accuracy required in a different skill set.
So
When was the last time you saw a 6-inch square or 6-inch round knockdown 30 yards away in a USPSA match?
Never.
Fucking never.
Well, I think the skill set there
It's after
is
10.
the skill set there that we're not getting credit for is we can scale up and scale down the level of precision that a target requires. Like, a paper target wide open doesn't require
Yeah.
a lot of marksmanship respect, so you can shoot at it on the run, but we also need to be able to shoot a 3-inch piece of steel.
Well, it's
You know,
like we were talking about with the Greg Jordan example earlier. It's like respect the target.
Yep.
Give the target the amount of respect that it deserves.
and that's
Does
what
it deserve all your respect? No. Does this one
It might
deserve
not
all your
even
respect?
reserve a lot.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I was going with the desired accuracy, where I want the generation of shooters coming in. I want the competition level next to me. I'm not requiring that they shoot 2 alphas at the splits they're running. But when I ask a guy, was it your first shot or your second shot that hit the A because it was an A nothing? You alpha mic the target. Was it your first round or your second round? Because if it's your first round doing it, why even waste the second round? If it's just going to be alpha mic on everything you shoot at, or did you luck into it on your second round? And some guys can't tell you, but if you watch guys shoot, you can watch their impact. Like the last 3 shooters we had today, the sun was silhouetting those targets, so I could see their impacts. You ever watch that?
Yeah.
And you can tell where they're shooting. They may or may not see it. So I'm not requiring a guy to shoot 2 A's, but if he doesn't know that, okay, now I'm going to 2 headshots, and he calls it, and then he has to go look at the target and be like, oh, I thought they were there. And everybody on the squad is like, bro, we saw your impact on the dirt like 15 yards to the left and 15 yards to the right. Like, So I want people to understand that there's a level that we all find acceptable. Now, if I beat you, I'm kind of happy. Oh, that's the other problem with the community is you have too many people in the crowd that know what's going on and know what they should be doing or what is acceptable for the sport and don't want to turn around and help the guy. It could be their best friend that they're shooting with and they still won't tell them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You don't think so?
No.
So, I mean,
Give me an example with names, UML numbers.
oh, you want
Dates,
I don't even know
numbers.
I don't even know my own UML number.
I mean, how many edits are on their match?
Okay, so
Cal Soul, Tony Cowden. List grows longer.
To my credit, I will talk
Carolina
about myself
discount.
here. I've had a lot of my friends that I shoot with that like the fact that I will tell them my game plan. I will help them with their game plan, even if they're going to beat me. Jay shooting open. I hope he beats me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give him an awesome stage plan. I want to coach him through and watch him have a great match and let him blossom. Look at the little guy go, right?
Fly, little birdie, fly.
And I would rather lose to Jay at every
met
match
Jay,
I
right?
shoot with him before I'd ever hide something from him. Dylan.
Yeah.
Dylan's shooting open now, and I hate him for beating me in Texas. But I'm still going to give him at his first 3-gun match in open. That's kind of huge kick in the nuts.
Have
there.
Vortex your source?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Texas
Ruben
3-gun.
beat me his first
Or
time
no,
in open.
Zebra beat us there.
It was
Yeah, it was
Vortex.
Vortex shooter
Yeah,
source because he was shooting tack at Texas third again.
Yeah. No, I don't care. But Dylan will never
Hey, it's his
accuse me of
birthday.
withholding information from him on a stage. Like I will coach.
Yeah.
I will coach him to victory. Right.
Although Dylan is not that way in return.
He did ice me on that last stage. He had a mag problem, so I got to shoot first. calling you out, Dylan. I told him at the match today. I was like, that's kind of a d-bag move.
It's his birthday. Leave him alone.
It's his birthday. Was he like 45 now or something? 65?
122 according to Mexican restaurant birthdays.
According to his beard, yeah.
Oh, that's right. He had another birthday today, huh?
Yeah, we'll show you the video later.
Yeah.
What was his excuse for not wanting to shave his beard? He said he's
He and
He and
Ruben
Ruben have a bet going.
Yeah, they have a bet going. That apparently only
Is
Like,
anybody
whose
but
wife will
Dylan,
kick him out of the house
Dylan
first?
participating?
no.
Is that kind of like you and Jeremy's burpee competition?
Yeah. I totally won. Yeah, that was a good time. Well, so as a middle-aged guy that still wants to do well, and I see the trend toward moving super herky-jerky fast and spraying a bunch of bullets everywhere. What should my strategy be to combat that? Should I just okay, I guess this is what we're doing, and then just start
delete your Instagram. I mean, no.
Quit watching the internet.
So to be fair,
I see this in person too, by the way.
I'm not the most athletic guy. So if somebody is in good shape and that's the movement you need to do to get through a stage, cool. If it works, it works. Most of the time we're seeing guys that do it unnecessarily. It looks like
the movement needs to be efficient. So the most efficient way you can get your body from one spot to the next is the way you need to do it. Not the way that looks cool because you got your gun turned sideways and you're doing little stutter step thingies and popping in and out of spots.
I'm using my gun to pump my arms.
Think back to the Pro Series when it was actually 5 matches and you had multiple stages set up.
When I was watching it on TV and you were on it.
Camera. Isn't that weird? Do you ever think about how weird that is?
All the
James is
time.
on TV, and I can go back and watch those old things, and I talk to him. That's weird.
I like
fish
go
in
back
a
to my
little
hotel room
It's
and
a
be like,
mind effer.
James Gill knows my name.
Dave somehow thought I didn't like you. I'm like,
Well,
fuck that
that's
guy.
just because of what you said. I'm just kidding.
refresh me.
No, I'm just kidding.
So, watching guys when the Pro Series came on, and we're watching on TV, and we're there. I don't remember how guys used to throw shotguns in a barrel or a rifle, but I don't remember ever seeing a hole in the bottom of a trash can unless somebody shot it.
Yeah.
Right. And then we go to the Pro Series, and every barrel in the match had shotgun tubes and barrels stuck in it, and I was like, You have to exert some energy to go through the bottom of that Rubbermaid trash can.
Because they were
Into the
recycling.
dirt.
They were
Your shotgun
recycling their
tube is
trash
not
cans from
pointy.
their house.
No, they legitimately weren't. Guys were bouncing shotguns so hard that they would come back out of the trash cans, and they'd have to stop, and it's on camera.
Yeah.
And they have to go back and catch it out of the air. And it's like, anytime I was transitioning off the
But
shotgun,
why?
I let my right hand go, and I'd let the shotgun roll off my left hand and just go straight down the barrel, and it would just softly land in the trash can, and my pistol's coming out like pass in flight. Anybody ever heard that one? And I exerted no effort doing it, and it's the fastest way to get rid of a gun. Just let it go. It just rolls into the trash can. Oh, my God. And I never broke a shotgun tube, never speared but somehow someone there got into the effort. I don't know who the first guy was, but there's a few guys that were doing it where you'd watch them javelin their shotgun in a barrel. And you exerted way more energy than was necessary to do that. You actually hurt your stage time by doing that. And then people started copying it. And now you have guys that every time they run with their shotgun, they switch hands 7 times. Dylan did it today. Who started that? Switching hands with the gun.
Jesse Tischhauser.
Did he?
Yeah.
While you're running, you're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, people do realize he is retarded. Not everything the guy did was good. He did some really dumb things in the industry. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Doesn't he grow pot now or something?
Grows
Yeah.
hemp.
He's got a
Hemp's
license.
different.
I mean, it's a legal farm, but
It's hemp. Hemp's different than pot.
But, I mean, I actually did that a bunch today, but it's because all the stages were hard lateral runs on the plane of 180 from left to right. and I'm a left-handed person.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where that technique came from. You had to make the hard run, and if you held it in your strong hand, you were breaking the 180.
How far were you running?
Well, today it was like 20, 30 yards.
Makes sense. Would you do it if you're taking 3 steps over?
No, absolutely not.
People doing it.
People don't.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Man, we're just
I feel like
different.
Keep the hand on the fire control until it makes sense not to.
Yeah,
That is
like my rule of
gunfighting
thumb.
101. Strong hand does not leave the gun.
Right.
This is your work hand, does everything else. Your
Right.
weak hand is your work hand, does everything else. Some people, I'm not teaching how to be good in a gunfight or anything, but that hand needs to stay on the gun for a reason. Now, if I need to change position, do some crazy running backwards over my shoulder stuff, I get it. If you're taking 3 steps over, again, when you put a pistol in somebody's hands for the first time and you have them walk towards a target, why do they walk like a zombie?
Yeah.
It's because they're uncomfortable. They're freaking out because of a pistol. Well, walking or running with a pistol in your hand, you just run. You don't got to fling the pistol around and do all this crazy stuff. Just run. You know where your muzzle is. And unless you're running 20 or 30 yards and you got to get significant leverage on the gun or you're worried about breaking the 180, then in that case it makes sense to do it. But to take 2 steps over, you're switching hands, doing this and that, and they're in the middle of an open flat field and they pull their shotgun and jerk it over their shoulder and start running as if they're pulling it out of a barricade, which gunfighting 101 is your muzzle doesn't pass the barricade because, Taliban around the corner, grab your barrel.
Right.
Just like the weirdest technique. Why would you stick your gun in a barricade? Why would you stick your gun all the way through the port? What if in recoil your gun hits the barricade itself and causes a malfunction?
Seen it.
I think one of the things too, I didn't expect the conversation to go this direction when we started, but one of the things that maybe I kind of want to throw out is so athleticism versus we can call it marksmanship. I don't even want to say marksmanship, but technical savvy. If we think back to you used Kurt Miller as the example, back in the it sucks because a lot of the matches that he shot aren't active anymore, or the people I want to compare him to don't shoot those matches.
Yeah.
So Kurt Miller, top of the limited game, crushing it circa 2011, 2013. Who's crushing it right now in limited?
Riley.
Aaron.
Aaron Hayes.
Darren Sheets.
Aaron Hayes, yeah.
Darren is okay.
Who's shot worlds with irons?
Wait, hang on.
Joe.
Joe.
Joe Easter.
Joe Easter.
Yeah.
Who's Mike Cattell? There we go.
Mike Cattell.
Mike
yes.
Cattell's freaking rocking it in limited right now.
Love you, buddy. So you kind of brought up the beginning of some basketball person who I don't understand.
Will Chamberlain?
Yeah,
so
he's
logo.
so he's dunking against
I don't know.
against shortish white guys, right?
Yeah.
So if he played today, would he be a stellar athlete? Probably not.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Is
but
could I don't even know what era Will Chamberlain played, but if he was transmuted to 2019, could he even compete?
No.
Yeah. And
Technically, yes. Physically, probably not. There's probably a bunch of super stud athletes now that will just
Well, that's what you're talking about, the athleticism versus
monsters.
So you look at some guys in the sport now, currently. If it's to a point where if you and I have a 60-yard dash, I don't know, that's probably a mix-up there. But, if it was as soon as I finish shooting the shotgun and I'm loading going to my next shooting position, I could be there, standing there, finishing loading. Or if I just walk over and as I get into position, I finish loading. It doesn't matter who's faster there.
Yeah.
No, not really in that circumstance. But now when you have everybody's dropping a quad load in a fraction of a second or whatever. I don't know how fast people quad load because I don't do that shit anymore. But when,
Open live.
when there's nothing that stops you from point A to point B, There's no shooting involved. There's no loading. It's just a physical sprint. Who has the advantage? Is Jerry going to get outrun? Absolutely, Jerry's going to get outrun by Riley. Riley blew the doors off us at Vortex last year. Just flat out, like, embarrassed us on some of these jungle runs. He was covering ground so fast. I can't keep up with that on my best day. Give me a segue. I'm still not catching him. So that helps, but then if he gets in a position and he's struggling to shoot, I get there and I shoot the shot. You know, you ever watch side-by-side comparison of videos, some guys will get into position faster, and then they're not as skilled as a marksman, so they either aren't set up correctly or spending more time shooting. The guy just comes in, shoots it, and waddles off like I do. Like, you know, again, does the athleticism need to be there? It would help, but when you mix the two, like, that's a lethal combination.
So I keep bringing it back to. I'm sorry to interrupt. I keep bringing it back to training, but in the training sessions I've been doing lately, if some dude is doing that and he's throwing, and by he I mean either me or my training partner is throwing, like, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds after one target, the other guy will just, like, shout, stop, stop, stop. Like,
yeah,
you're just screwing this up. There's no reason to continue doing it. But second thing, one person who was really good at that was Nick Atkinson. He could, like, move really hard into a position, and then he could make himself stable enough to hit that shot.
Okay. I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Nick, come back. Anyway, Adam.
Well, what I wonder. So
just stay in tack
come
up.
back.
Just stay in tack up.
Keep hunting, buddy.
Yeah.
Keep hunting.
Like, I guess I don't necessarily relate with the spraying in the sport and not having the marksmanship. But what I wonder when we sat down to talk about this is I think about some of those what we'll call, I don't know, I think about that the baby boomer generation of 3-gunners. They had to be very technically savvy to win.
Yes.
Like Eric Miller or Kurt Miller needed to know some very specific and very detailed information to be good at limited at that time. Because it wasn't an athletic game. They needed to know, like, weird stuff about ballistics, and they knew stuff about guns and barrels.
They didn't have street lock.
Yeah.
They had to go prove everything.
Yeah.
The information wasn't force-fed to everybody on the internet.
Right.
A lot of these guys had to go out.
There was no
reloading data. I mean,
right.
before there was a manual.
They knew things about guns. And now there are a lot of very high-level shooters. A lot of them are my friends. They don't really know anything about guns.
Dude, good example. Was it 2 years ago? Nordic Vortex Trigun. Freilich has a recoil eliminator, JP recoil eliminator at 45 degrees, realizes he's going to have to shoot over a bucket of water, turns it to flat, and doesn't realize that's going to change his point of impact.
Yeah.
Like that. Kurt Miller would never, ever do that.
No.
So I wonder what's been lost between here and there. At the flashpoint of 3-Gun Nation where the athleticism really took off, which is what I like. I mean, that's what the gun racing part of it is what attracts me to the sport. But I wonder what analog stuff has been left in the dust that is still relevant if you have it and you know it, but a lot of people lack it now.
Or don't even seek it out or don't care about it.
Right.
James.
Because we got
kind of the bridge
do
to
it
another
all for you
generation.
now. Right?
So I'm the middle where I didn't necessarily grow up shooting. It wasn't like I reloaded, spent a bunch of time in my basement reloading ammo and building guns. I got into it as an adult in my time in the Marine Corps. Went to the civilian side of the house and started picking their brain. I got into reloading. I did, gun building. I've done it all. And so seeing both sides where just being a young man that liked the appeal of shooting guns, when I was 19, I was invincible. At least I thought, until one day. So like there, if one of these old timers was like, back in my day we did this. Well, I don't need to do that, man. I've got technology on my side. Or, we say it now. Every now and then you'll have some old RO that's like, I've been shooting the sport for 25 years, and give you some bit of advice, and you're like, but I'm beating you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I don't need to listen to you because I'm still beating you. And I think that mentality.
Do you think that's hubris? Do you think that's the curse of like being young?
I don't know if it is or not.
Is Jay calling up dragons over there?
I don't know. But
Well,
like
a teenager, I don't have to listen to my parents. I know I'm an
Yeah.
adult.
Yeah.
No, you're still a young child. There's still some developmental stuff that you have. And then the other side is maybe the adults around them are also acting like children and just saying, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like that. In that example, the seasoned RO, he may have a point. He may not necessarily be right, but he may have a point.
Yeah,
and he, so that's where this show that I'm gonna tease again that I want to do with you about shotgun chokes. Like a lot of people don't really know what they're doing. They don't even really know what they're looking for. But like back in the baby boomer days of 3-gun, like it was information that people knew that they were slicing targets with their pattern. They were aiming off the target to hit the target and not hit the no shoot.
Right.
They knew things about their patterns that nobody really knows now. IC's good, right? Like, just having enough pellets on target to knock it over is really the limit of what 90% of shotgun shooters know now. Whereas before, you kind of had to know, like, how big it was going to be to know if you could squeeze a pattern between two no-shoots or not, Yes. And I think some of that technical knowledge, not always relevant, but if you have it and you're athletic, that's what makes you super dangerous.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, so it's the best of the both worlds, right?
if matches started going back to technical shooting instead of just catering to, it's fun to hose. I don't have anything against it. It's fun. We all like doing it.
Well, we shot 4 6-target arrays today with
I
8
fired
rounds.
2 rounds at each of those arrays.
Exactly.
Y'all did some hosing today. I
did
saw
some
those stages.
serious hosing. I had a 19-round mag. I shot 8 rounds out of it, like at 20 targets.
I used all 19.
I like to live very dangerously when I only need half of my magazine.
No, but if they would have put a couple of no-shoots in there and then you had to pick a position, know your pattern, that would have been maybe kind of boring when you're shooting it, but it's a skill. So that the challenge, I think, it's in my mind, it's not memorable to just be like, I pulled the trigger real fast, because I do that a lot. I do that in practice. I shoot my machine gun once a week. Like, it's fun to hose.
Rub it in, why don't you?
Yeah, come on down to Texas.
Get that on the gram.
But you go through a stage where, man, I did something that the rest of my squad couldn't do. Like, oh, you tagged a no shoot. Like, I didn't tag a no shoot. And then everybody comes to you, well, what choke were you using? What was your secret? They want to know what your secret is.
Yeah.
Well, I knew where to aim. I knew where my pattern was, and like I didn't just luck into it.
That's too far away to shoot with a shotgun. Really? Are you sure? Or, if you have that pistol skill in your back pocket, like all of a sudden the target that everybody's running up to the very front of the stage, you see, I could see it from back here. You take two, you shoot it from back and you save yourself a whole position.
I didn't have to run the extra 25 yards.
The bullets run faster than I do. Like, having the wisdom and the ability to do both of those things is a very, very powerful weapon in a sport where, a lot of people are trying to athleticize their way to victory. You still have to have a little bit of that savvy, or that's a way you gain an advantage on people is by knowing some of those things and knowing when to use them, I think.
Did you know when to use it today, Jay?
What I use?
See, kids?
Jesus. Which brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack. I know what the blue button does, and that's about it.
The purple's the bleep. That's what I know.
It's a fact. So, if you had to say, like, what is your strong suit? Athleticism or marksmanship? Gil, what's yours?
Marksmanship.
I think it's
Jay. Wow, holy shit!
With friends like these.
Wow,
That was
I think
kind
it's
of
amazing that James would say that about himself. Because, like,
there's marksmanship.
yeah. James shoots at an extremely high level in a
sure.
very competitive sport with one eye and one leg.
Just think if he was athletic.
What?
You're so
How much,
dick, dude.
how much athleticism did you have to spare? That's what I want to know. Like,
So I had
I can't believe I laughed so hard at that.
I've had a couple people through the years that have come up to me at matches. Somebody came up and they had a boot on or something. You know, they
yeah.
sprained their ankle. I know exactly what you're going through. And I said, no, you don't. Like, you'll recover in like another 4 days or whatever.
What was that? I got like stung by a bee or I had mosquito bites or something. I'm like, God, my ankle is killing me. You're like, oh, is it, Dave?
Which one of your pair of ankles is bothering you, Dave?
So, speaking of the Pro Series and being back in the day, so I had a person that was very deeply involved in my life, you know, supporting me at one point, that was watching me on the Pro Series, and they'd see my
Keith Garcia.
run. No, it was my ex.
So my bad.
Running through a stage, and they show my run, and they're like, your time was 28 seconds, and it was 9th place. You know, so I had a top 10 run, so it got televised. The rest of them weren't good enough. Whatever. And, well, then they show, like, Daniel or Keith or somebody else run through the stage and shows the winning time on a stage. And everybody – it doesn't matter who looked at the video, but they're like, why didn't you do that? What the hell do you think I was trying to do? and people don't understand that not only is it hard to shoot at that level, but physically just to keep up with, you know, everybody else in the sport, like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard.
So you remember the Noveski DVDs? The Noveski shooting team DVDs? So
My
I
laser
had –
burned through mine. I
What's
watched it so many times that my laser burned through it. It's
nice.
It's gone.
So the first one was, you know, when they were still showing the weekend reload with the shovel in there, and like I was practicing in my living room like all the time, and my ex-girlfriend was over, and I was like, hey, check this out, and I like loaded 4, and then I loaded another 4. And in my mind, I was like, man, I nailed that.
The cleanest load you've ever done.
Cleanest load I've ever done. I turned to her. I'm
Nailed
like,
it.
She's like, well, those
It's a
guys in
culmination
the
of 6
video.
months of effort from Dave.
Exactly. She's like, those guys in the video do it so much faster.
Oh, just
So
I've told a couple guys, like, my big thing in the sport is one of the things I really enjoy doing in 3-gun is I really like making people feel bad about themselves. I'm serious. And
it's like Scott Green.
if I can do it physically, and I'm not trying to pick, because we know that there's some guys that are in a sport, they're here recreationally. I don't expect them to go run a marathon. No problem. So, and usually I get comments from those guys like, I don't know how you do it. It's like, I get it, man. You're 65. You know, I appreciate you being here. And, you know, I'm only 34, so it's not like I'm up there
Really?
in years. Yeah, I'm only 30. I know it doesn't look that way, but
Got a lot of hard miles on you, bro.
hung me up wet. You know, but shooting wise, it's more important for me to make people feel bad about the shooting, because realistic, and it is, because
This sounds really
you know, like I think the allure of being like, oh, there goes the one-legged guy again. Like, I think people have kind of gotten over that. And realistically, I go some places and they don't even realize. I mean, one of the guys I started shooting with in USPSA didn't know I was missing a leg for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I show up to a match in shorts. He's like, oh, my God, what happened? I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, your leg.
Same.
I've been
thing
missing a leg as long as I've known you.
Same thing that happened in my eye.
Yeah.
Well,
And it was funny. He's training me about shooting on the move, and for a long time I hated shooting on the move.
Roll heel toe, right?
I'd bounce on the prosthetic. So anytime he'd say, "Why aren't you shooting on this foot?" I'm like, "I can't." And I thought he knew because I'd been shooting with him for 2 years. Yeah. And then I show up in shorts. He's like, "Oh, I get it now."
Well, can I ask you this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you're tired of telling the story, but like before your injury happened, were you a very athletic person? Like, were you an All-American like football player or something?
Jay, why are you laughing?
I played JV football until my senior year, where I had to be on the varsity football team. I got like no minutes on varsity. Like, I was there. I was at a big school. Yeah. I could always run. I ran cross country. I ran track. I used to run like 15-minute 3 miles. After I lost my leg, I was still running 18-minute 3 miles, 20-minute 3 miles. I ran a marathon on my everyday walking leg and was top third of my age group in the marathon on one leg. So I think I was just too dumb not to run. Like you just keep running. I mean, that was never difficult. I was never physically a stud like this All-American bodybuilder or anything like that. Now, in 3-gun, most of the physical aspect at the end of 2 or 3 days in the weekend of resetting steel and humping up and down the hills, like where everybody's body hurts, I think this is where my advantage pays off of just being broken for the last 15 years, where I'm so used to it. Like it doesn't even register like anymore. It's just, it always hurts. Like I'm not used to it not hurting. So I don't know the difference. If I leave skin on every stage I shoot, and guys, Dave's trying to borrow knee pads and everybody else, and I give him so much shit about it. Like,
Hey,
it's cool because you're half cyborg.
I'm
now.
tender.
Yeah. and then guys are like, I'm still gonna wear knee pads.
Yeah, I'm still gonna wear knee pads.
Yeah.
If I see a bunch of brass on the ground, I'm gonna get a knee pad because I know what it's like to have the business end of that shoved into my knee.
The times that I try and plan for stuff like that, like knee pads, or I'm gonna put equipment on. I finally bought elbow pads, like baseball slider elbow pads, and they're sitting in my truck. I didn't even take them out in the match when I go prone.
I'm gonna need those tomorrow.
You want to borrow them? Okay,
sure.
But when I do put things like that on, it ends up biting me somehow because I never use them. So when I do use them,
because you didn't use them in practice or anything.
When I jumped to open and started shooting a bipod. Bipods have hurt me more than anything else. Mm-hmm. Today, they hurt me. Texas 3-gun, they hurt me. And I even say it before every stage I finally given and used bipods. I'm like, I don't really want to use bipods. I talk myself into using bipods. Like, it's the gear, you should use it. And I come off stage and I throw them across the backseat of my truck. Like, I'm never using these things again.
This should have been a bag, though.
Bags only, no bipods.
This last one should have been a bag.
Where were you at there, teammate?
Whoa.
Well, that's a good point. So now I feel comfortable saying that, but beforehand, I feel like I need to divert. Not divert. I need to defer to your expertise. Like, hey, he's been doing this way longer than me. He's, you've got so much time in the Marine Corps.
You ever had?
I have no clue what I'm doing. What's up?
Have you ever had a boss that was an idiot?
Fuck yeah. You want names?
So don't. Yeah. And that one guy you work with, where no matter what you tell him, he's not going to listen because it came from you.
Asshole. Oh yeah.
So I'm just a lowly enlisted Marine. There's no gray matter in my brain, right? So I deal with a lot of guys in the officer community where when I give them a suggestion, like, what do you know, Sergeant Gill? You're just a sergeant. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Like, you've been in the Marine Corps for 4.5 minutes. Like, I guess I don't know what it's like. So at some point you learn that you're not just going to tell them. You have to plant the idea or ask them a question that makes them realize what they're doing. So, like, maybe you could admit, like, hey,
do you think maybe a bag would be cool on this one?
Would you suggest a bag? And I'd be like, well, Dave, that's a pretty good idea. Thanks, bro.
All right, next time
you think your bipod would have got snagged in that barricade? Oh, I would never have thought that.
Hey, so So if your gun's real hard and the barricade's real hard, wouldn't you think you need something soft in between to make it recoil less and
Like a
get on
sandwich.
target? Like a sandwich, like a bag.
But I've shot tac ops for years where we didn't have those crutches.
Well, same here, man. Like
And I did just fine there.
My default is not to use that stuff. Like guys have been using it forever. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna use my udder bag here, and I'm like, I don't even have one of those.
I'm just gonna get on the mags.
I keep forgetting that there's all this other cool stuff, and I'm kind of cheap. Like I don't want to buy the stuff. I don't want to haul it around.
Like
Bro,
another
there-
$1,000 worth of bags.
There's
I
a
don't
goat
want more
pillow right
chokes.
over there.
I
Bring that
want-
goat pillow with us.
I have 2 chokes for my Vepr now. Like the other ones, I put them away. It's
Is
like
one a hoser?
it's mod or IC, and that's it. And I've got a set of Briley chokes for my M2. It's IC or full choke, and that's like it.
Really?
I'll make you a deal on those ones you're not using. The piece of gear that I don't want is the kneeling/standing height bipod
Oh yeah.
made out of carbon fiber.
You
But I know that I need one. We were like passing the same bipod around at Surefire. Like it was Scott Green's, and like we all like, yeah, that's what we need to use here. And you're dumb if you don't. But
So I said Scott Green earlier.
Yeah. Do you think I want to start a campaign to bring back bullying? When you have a guy, that is shooting a PCC,
Pro bullying campaign.
you made it this far in the episode. You're welcome.
Pro bullying campaign.
so if you're on a portion of a stage where you have to shoot 3 BC targets at 40 yards with a rifle, or God forbid a PCC, and you put 6-foot bipods on your gun, how good are you?
Scott Green's pretty good.
I know that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I want to challenge my teammates. Like, stand up on your hind legs, shoot like a man.
Well,
right? Jerry said that.
We got to the end of Surefire, and they were like, well, open's open. Like, I mean, normally we don't allow bipods. You guys want to allow bipods? I'm like, no.
In Surefire?
No. Yeah, at the shoot-off at the end.
Oh.
They're like, oh, I mean, do you guys want I hate that bipod. I don't want to use it. I wanted to shoot it
Now it's
offhand.
another piece of gear that you have to have.
Yeah.
If like tack, if you don't have a 12-round tube and tack optics, you're behind the curve. If you
Yep.
don't have this, you're out. And we want to, again, we don't want to teach people that to shoot a 50-yard target, they have to use a bipod. Like, why don't we reward the skill of shooting offhand? And not just, now you take out the prizes and the money, just the trophy, the mental trophy of, I did this, and I did it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we rewarding our buddies that way and being like, look at you, big guy, you did that.
Yeah.
Or the junior shooter, look at that. You can go 1-for-1 on these pistol gongs. Look at you go. That's what we reward. Like, I want to throw goldfish to those kids and Dave. Or Scott
Are
Green,
they
whoever
like the
it is.
extra cheese ones?
Yeah. Or the pretzel ones. I like the
Oh,
pretzel ones.
okay.
But that's the kind of stuff. And Jay and I go back and forth on this all the time where are we going to put an extra slug in the gun?
Yeah.
Or we get, what? Oh, I got to do this because I got to take 4 pistol mags. You're shooting 18 rounds with a pistol.
I'm not the extra slug in the gun guy. I'm the load as many as you need. Because the extras, they always miss them anyway.
In some cases, so if you go back to the days, and most of my mentality comes out of TAC Ops, where
Right.
8-round tube, if I start with a gun preloaded and there's 2 slug gongs in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I suck at slugs, I have to put 5 slugs in there or 6 slugs. Now I have to load the rest of the tube up after that with birdshot as I'm moving on to finish the rest of the stage. So we say, take the training wheels off, put 2 slugs in the gun, and the rest birdshot, and hold hard, pause, press, and move on. And then I don't have to spend time loading on the clock. Now with open, today I put 4 rounds of birdshot in my shotgun, hose through 3 rounds on, burn the 4th burner, and I put that 4th one there as a fluff in case I doubled the trigger on that Vepr.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to slug a KO plate at 6
in case you were
yards.
just flinging shots, not really paying attention.
Yeah. And then I had 16 slugs in the bottom of that mag for 4 slug targets.
Oh yeah.
But
and I used Every
13
other
of
one.
'em.
Every other one. Every other one in the mag.
I literally used 13 slugs on those 4 plates.
All right, real quick. Let me tell you about
fast.
Scott Green.
Yeah.
So you were talking about
So hot right now.
yes.
Is it still so hot right now?
So
I mean,
Scott,
he's still pretty hot.
Scott's thing is he doesn't want to win. He wants to destroy worlds.
Ooh, I agree.
He wants to beat people. He doesn't care if he wins. He wants to beat people.
But
So if he
he's
wins,
like a bully.
yes. So if he wins in a division where there's like 3 people, he's like, oh, that's cool. But if he wins in a division where there's 12 people, he's like, cool. I fucked up 12 people's weekend. Awesome.
I want all the sharks in my division, and I want to beat all the sharks.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Scott Green's a good one. All right. Moving right along. Max, do you consider yourself a marksman or an athletic shooter?
I was born a fat kid. I had to work very hard for any ounce of athleticism that I have. So, yeah, I consider myself more of a marksman than a raw athlete.
Jay?
Athlete's a strong word.
Is it?
No, I'm just kidding. Typically, I've been athletic. Got heavier in the past couple of years riding around being a salesman, but I was on the track for getting back to being pretty athletic there for a while.
What happened?
You know, trimming trees, that kind of little speed bump.
Tree falls in the woods.
Tree falls.
Jay didn't hear it.
Did it make a sound?
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear nothing.
Definitely should have had his hard hat on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's kind of even keel. I mean, probably more on the marksman side than athlete, you know. But trying to get back to getting the athlete level up to the marksman level.
Yeah. So you didn't ask, but for me, same thing. Like I started out in practical shooting, same as you, like leaning on the athletic side, knowing that I needed to up my marksmanship, and then I feel like all I've concentrated on is marksmanship.
Right.
So, yeah, do some work in that area too.
Got to bring them,
Didn't you just take, like,
them athletics up.
4th or 5th at Red October.
5th of Red October, yeah. I mean, it's pretty good.
With a
like
bottle of vodka in your
marksmanship
hand.
means a lot for sure, but doesn't mean I didn't want second or
So
first.
marksmanship will get you to that level. So, like, Glock will get you to a certain point, right?
Yeah,
So marksmanship will get you to a point,
right.
and then from there, you got to upgrade.
Right.
So
Well,
bring up the athleticism.
Athleticism will get you to a certain point too.
Well,
But you need to bring up
sure.
the marksmanship.
Sure.
And that's what I found early on is like, yeah, I'm getting the positions fast, I'm shooting fast, but I suck. I can't hit anything. I'm throwing Delta Mike.
How many super hot shooters do you know that never really get above 5th?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
The
Well-
athleticism is at 11.
One of my
But they
favorite
never win,
shooters consistently finishes in 6th to 9th place and complains about it to no end.
I think we're talking about the same guy.
Yeah, and it's like,
Names.
bro, I love you so much, but you gotta stop being such a d-bag with your finish. You know,
All right, mouth it to me.
later. I'll mouth you later.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, guys, anything else we want to add? Athleticism versus marksmanship here.
I think you need both, but it is a game of marksmanship, and you still can't miss fast enough to win.
You want to call that your final thought?
Yep.
Jay, your final thought? That's a good one, Amax.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have had Amax go last, apparently.
Yeah, you should have brought that one in the end there.
It just came out.
Yeah, you know. Go ahead, James. my train, my train is totally derailed.
After midnight, Jay don't work. 12:08.
If you're shooting a match and you double the round count for the match, you need to reevaluate your life.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and you know we've kind of been picking on young people on this one, but I see it a lot with young people, with juniors and stuff like that, and I wonder if it's because there's not 20 cents attached to every trigger pull, whereas for me there is. And for you there is. And for you there is. And for you there is.
Not really for me.
Well, you could let that go. I mean, you could let me have one in this goddamn.
I have a
hour and a
spreadsheet.
half that we're
It's
doing.
on the
Typical
spreadsheet.
adult situation. Every trigger pull is costing you money.
I mean, why is nobody
do
good
what-
at slugs?
Do we want to get into
It's
the
a buck a pull.
we want to get into the cost of shooting and how some people don't
No.
appreciate? Okay,
We can do that tomorrow.
They've already done that.
We can do that tomorrow.
All right. Why are you looking at me?
Final thought? Did we
Jay.
not do James' final thought?
You just did. I said if you're doubling around count of the match.
Oh, yeah.
Confidence
I'll
is
just I just have to quote Jerry and be unoriginal. Shoot fast, don't miss. Stand on your hind legs and shoot it like a man.
That was pretty unoriginal.
We're woman.
confidence is taking that round count they put out on the email and shipping 10% more.
You know, okay, you touched a hot button here. We're going to go for another 30 minutes. Like, lazy-ass match directors not counting the targets, not counting the engagements, just saying, oh, this is a 300-round match. Really? Did you put 150 targets out there? Because if not, you're lying. And now I got to take all that shit back on a plane.
Or it could be, but you have these optional targets. Okay.
Yeah, there's that too. Well,
Now,
and
are
that,
we going to have so many options out there that I'm just not even going to start bringing
Yes.
a shotgun anymore?
Yes, you will, because you have to make concessions for all these divisions.
I'm
so
turning
you got all
3-gun
kind of options.
Make 3-gun, 2-gun again. Or make the sport 3-gun
Wait a
again.
minute.
You gonna put that on a red hat?
make 3-gun, 3-gun again?
Make 3-gun.
There you go.
3-gun.
Make 3-gun,
That's a
3-gun again.
T-shirt.
Yeah, it is.
That is a T-shirt.
Write that down.
3gunshow.com.
Oh, I said it on the stage. I said
3gunshowproshop.com.
make 3-gun fun again.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
having a lot of fun right
Having
now.
a great time.
I don't know. So if I was going to say anything, I would say that err on the side of marksmanship. You know, the like athleticism will help you out in your life, in being a better person, being a better human, and being there for your family, not dying early, heart disease, all that shit. But flinging 5 rounds downrange for every plate you knock over is not cool. And you maybe think you're cool, but you're not. Everyone is laughing at you. So there you go. That's my final thought.
You went deep.
It's pretty harsh.
Didn't do that. Okay.
Ditto.
All right, guys. Well, so thanks for being here for the 3-Gun Show After Dark.
It was a wild ride, but
It was a
here
wild
we
ride.
are.
I did not know where we were going or how we were going to get there, but we did.
We just wanted to talk about something. We
Mhm.
laughed, we cried. we brought back bullying.
We laughed. So, yeah. Make bullying great again.
That's another T-shirt.
There's a few of them that I could go on, but
Yeah. All right, dudes. Well, let's catch some sleep and let's shoot tomorrow, and we'll do this again.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye for now.
Night.
Thanks for listening to the 3-Gun Show. If you like this type of content, you can support us on a monthly basis for as little as $5 by subscribing on Patreon at 3gunshow.com/Patreon. You can also give your business to the companies that support the 3-Gun Show, including Vortex Optics, IWI, and JP Rifles. Until next week, I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.